Nothing to hide, and I'm gonna break it straight down the pipe for you, face to face.
Being tough gets you hurt. This is a sharp game, a skill game, a chess game, and I think people see that.
Having lost that fight, walking out of the ring, what were your memories? What did you think?
Boxing's a lot tougher than I expected.
So you don't know my ability though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't.
I don't know where you might go. I just give you where I think you're at, which I'm entitled to, which is average. Average is very complimentary.
The face-to-face interview between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua offers a gripping glimpse into two fighters from completely different worlds. Jake Paul, the YouTube sensation turned professional boxer, faces off against former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua with his trademark confidence and bravado. Joshua, on the other hand, stays composed, analyzing Paul's challenge with the focus of a seasoned veteran. Despite his bold persona, Paul openly admits that Joshua's size, skill, and championship mentality make him a formidable opponent. He doesn't shy away from the truth, acknowledging this could be his toughest fight yet, but he's determined to rise to the occasion and prove himself.
This relentless style, this forward pressure, taking lots of damage and not giving a fuck and returning that damage more than what his opponents are giving him. And that...
With the fight officially set for December 19th, anticipation is at an all-time high. Jake Paul made it clear this isn't just another celebrity boxing spectacle. It's a genuine test against a former unified heavyweight champion. He acknowledged the huge risk of stepping into the ring with Joshua, but insisted that true greatness demands bold moves. Joshua, calm and confident, praised Jake's business savvy and relentless work ethic, but reminded everyone that experience counts. Once the bell rings, respect disappears, and instincts take over, he said. Both fighters agreed. This bout will define careers. Either Jake shocks the world, or Joshua reasserts his dominance.
So I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua. I know I will beat. Right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. But I want to fight you.
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping weighed in on the matchup, calling it a win-win scenario for Jake Paul. He argues that even if Paul loses, he'll earn serious respect for daring to step into the ring with a former heavyweight world champion. For Bisping, taking on Joshua proves that Paul isn't just playing at celebrity boxing. He's willing to take real risks. And if Paul somehow pulls off a victory, it would instantly elevate his legitimacy in the sport. This high-stakes gamble, Bisping says, is exactly the kind of bold move that deserves applause. On the flip side, the fight could be risky for Anthony Joshua as well. A win might bring criticism for taking an easy payday against a social media star instead of facing top-tier competition. But a loss would be far worse. Being defeated by an influencer-turned boxer could seriously damage his legacy and make fans question his future in the sport.
Did I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul? Is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing, and he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury's going to beat him, and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy sh**. Can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. Comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance, and not to mention...
Either way, this fight feels more like a business decision than a legacy-defining moment for Joshua. One of the biggest talking points is the weight difference. Jake Paul reportedly came in around 200 pounds for his fight against Mike Tyson, while Anthony Joshua consistently fights in the 252 to 255 pounds range. That size gap could play a major role once the bell rings.
I legit think it was probably close to happening. Now you're telling me there were discussions and potentially, signed to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. And again, I do believe the reason for that is Jake's massive size advantage. Again, that's like a 100-pound weight advantage. How would that even work? Like, how do you even... Never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's not official and I don't think it's happening. So let's just not even broach that subject. But let's talk about the Anthony Joshua fight. And I want to hear the clip again because I just can't believe what I'm hearing. Let's play it again.
I know my boundaries. I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will fucking beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will
got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this shit, but I want to fight you.
So Jake says he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He says he's gonna beat Anthony Joshua's ass. That he doesn't have a chin. That he has no skill. And that he's stiff. And then you hear Derek again with the porn creeper stash chime in. Didn't he just get knocked out? Yeah, by Daniel Dubois, who is a reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Not that that means anything at all, I don't guess. Yeah, Jake's just flat out wrong here with a lot of his critiques of Anthony Joshua in comparison to himself. Like, if you want to say for the elite heavyweights in the world that Anthony Joshua has a little bit less skill and is more stiff than they are, then okay, but Anthony Joshua is still an elite heavyweight in the world. And then to go as far as to say, I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, no skill, he's stiff. Like, again, Jake can have this opinion. And he says it, that we're friends and I love you, but I want to fight you. And Jake may even believe that, but he's just wrong. Like, Anthony Joshua took heavy shots against Daniel Dubois before he was knocked out, and really, the reason he was knocked out is because he got in a firefight and threw an uppercut as a lead because Ben Davidson was...
Anthony Joshua has faced some of the biggest names in boxing, bringing far more experience to the ring than Jake Paul. Joe Rogan has repeatedly highlighted this gap in discussions about the potential matchup. While Joshua has battled elite fighters at the highest level, Paul is still relatively new to the sport, making this fight a significant step up in competition.
He's coming into his own, man. That's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's fucking scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him. He was so aggressive. He was just in the pocket constantly, just forcing Joshua to go to war. It was wild.
Everybody was like, look, to Joshua, I think you're done.
Right after he knocks out Francis Ngannou, and it's like, everyone's like, you're back.
Yeah.
Flattened Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, oh, Joshua's back.
Dana White has been dismissive of Jake Paul, saying he stopped paying attention after Paul lost to a legitimate boxer. White doesn't give much credit to Paul's boxing career, labeling his earlier fights as little more than pay-per-view spectacles. He even laughed off legal threats from Paul's team over claims of fixed fights, insisting that while he doesn't believe they're rigged, they often aren't real boxing contests.
The fight that's reportedly being worked on for December 19th in Miami.
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get what they...
Tommy Fury outright dismissed the idea of Jake Paul taking on Anthony Joshua, calling Paul's ambitions laughable. He reminded fans that he defeated Paul even while nursing a serious hand injury, using that win to question Paul's confidence and credibility. Fury doubted Paul's worthiness for such a high-profile fight and suggested that Joshua would have little to gain from it. He even speculated that Joshua might be paid off if the bout drags on, insisting he doesn't believe Paul could genuinely challenge a heavyweight of Joshua's caliber.
It can beat Jake Paul. And excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? Huh? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So...
In contrast, Tyson Fury has made a bold prediction about a potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. The former heavyweight champion confidently believes Paul could knock out Joshua, saying, Jake Paul chins AJ 100%. I'd back him all the way.
Do you think Jake Paul knocks out Joshua? Seriously?
Jake Paul chins AJ, yes, they fight.
Are you serious?
100%.
Paul calling him out.
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a real
Fury sees the matchup as a genuine 50-50 fight and has even gone as far as betting £1 million on Jake Paul to win.
Tyson Fury just comes out with an interview saying that he thinks Jake Paul will knock out Anthony Joshua. I think this is probably like a troll attempt to get Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, but then again, I don't know. Maybe Alexander Usyk did more damage than we thought. I think Jake Paul knocks him out, Fury told Ring Magazine when asked about Paul versus Joshua. I just think Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua out. I think Jake Paul is on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look, a bit chubby, a bit bulky, getting there, and he just did a great job over the aging. I mean, fool's like almost 40, you know, and he like was not a fighter for a long time or a boxer, you know, he's just in it for the check and the name value of his dad, you know. Aging Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he was a middleweight, but still. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Who'd he call out? Tank Davis and Joshua? That's just crazy. I see Richter Scale call outs. Exactly. I will say, I don't know, Gervonta Davis could beat him too, even though he does outweigh.
Fury's comments have ignited heated debate in the boxing world, with many questioning the credibility of his prediction. Jake Paul responded with full confidence, claiming he would 10x the bet by putting £10 million on himself to win the fight.
Talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look. A bit chubby, a bit bulky. Getting there. You have to protect it. And he just done a great job over the aging Chavez Jr., who was a middleweight, but still. Sure. Yeah. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? Who did he call out? Tank Williams and Joshua. That's just crazy. That's he called Richter Scale.
However, Jake Paul's habit of calling out legendary fighters has drawn criticism from many boxing fans. Critics argue that he's not a serious boxer and that his public challenges are more about grabbing attention than proving himself in the ring.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will
just got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this I want to fight you. I will beat Canelo.
Stop the tape now. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. The thing I respect about Jake Paul is his strategic selection of opponent. The retired NBA player, the mixed martial artist who does not specialize in striking, and a almost approaching 60-year-old Mike Tyson. But Anthony Joshua's skills are 1,000 light years ahead of Jake Paul's. Anthony Joshua, Mr. 28 wins, 25 knockouts, 4 losses. Anthony Joshua has been in the ring with real fighters. His resume speaks for itself. I just have one thing to say. Jake Paul, you can't play boxing. Trust me. Just stay in your...
Stephen A. Smith has openly criticized Jake Paul for targeting boxing legends like Mike Tyson. Smith argues that if Paul truly wants to prove himself, he should face opponents closer to his own age and skill level, rather than seasoned veterans like Anthony Joshua. According to Smith, challenging much older or more experienced fighters makes Paul appear more focused on publicity than genuinely testing his abilities, which could hinder his legitimacy in the boxing world.
Hype at this particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really, really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
But what did you think about the fight, Jake Paul?
I hate it. And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed from the sport.
Smith has long criticized Jake Paul for primarily facing non-boxers or fighters past their prime. In response, Paul defended himself, claiming he attempted to fight Tommy Fury, but Fury backed out. This moment is pivotal in Paul's career. While he has defeated former MMA fighters and older boxers, he has yet to consistently take on young, rising boxing talents. His loss to Tommy Fury was one of the few times he faced a boxer in their prime. Paul maintains that Fury didn't want a rematch, but critics argue that if he truly wants respect, he needs to challenge more fighters like Fury.
Are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who was his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's the heavyweight champion of the world.
Despite the controversy surrounding the matchup, the financial incentive is massive. Reports suggest that Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua could each earn around $92 million, bringing the combined purse to approximately $184 million. It's one of the biggest paydays of either fighter's career. For Paul, it's a huge win financially, no matter the outcome. And for Joshua, the enormous payday makes the fight hard to pass up.
For Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn? When you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring, fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose. We'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, If he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong.
Will Jake Paul shock the world? Or will Anthony Joshua show this is just a massive money fight?